Thanks to the fan who taught me how to do this week. Hey, welcome. Expect spiritual transformation as I deconstruct and then reconstruct your Bible view by revealing the hidden teachings and meanings of the light, long repressed or unseen to the eyes of the spiritually blind. Prepare for a truer transformation, glimpse by glimpse. Not church channels the light itself, the message itself, the presence itself in our gathered community. Channel the light with me today and my NDE friends who are going to be here. You can feel it. This is our space to experience the presence, capital T, capital P, together. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Peter Panagore, MDiv, Yale-trained, ex-denominational church leader, twice formerly a dead guy who's chosen twice to come back for the sake of love. For those of you who do know me, good to see you here again. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring the bell to get the alerts. I hid inside the church for 2 decades and then spent a decade and a half telling sacred stories on commercial broadcast TV and FM just before the morning weather. The Spirit lives in us and between us and among us. The light channels through the lens and the sound. You feel it. Whether you're watching live or later on, if you feel it, let me know. This is an experiment. I've spent my entire life attempting to grow a bigger space for the radiance, striving for the glory within, so that it might come out and be seen, and being seen, encourage the light within you. I welcome your feedback. Do you feel it or not? Let me know, please. Oh, and one last thing. I opt to base the expression of my language around the Bible stories of Christianity rather than, say, the Patanjali Sutras or the sayings of Buddha. This is because Christianity is the dominant culture of my immediate surroundings and, consequently, my studies. I'm not really a believer. I'm not sure any NDE is. Any NDE person is. I know God's real. The truth resides everywhere, including most especially here and now. Now, last week's discussion was amazing, and so be sure to stick around for our discussion in the chat today. Subscribe and ring that bell to receive alerts for whenever I go live. And now, not church. Paul the Mystic. The Bible's full of mystics because mystics are everywhere. Maybe the Spirit led you here today because maybe you can or want to experience God. A word about God. This week I got a letter from a fan who was hurt by the word God and wondered why I used it. Because so many people in the church have been hurt by it. Because the church often uses it as a weapon. The truth is, God is love. God is the beloved. So let's reform the word with truth. The truth is the presence. And if you feel it now, right here with me today, among us, then you've got the glimpse you're looking for. If you feel it, like Paul or like Jesus or like NDEers around the world, you're a mystic too. At your core, made this way, born into it. Our NDE friends who are here today, hey friends, we feel it between us because God is real. Bible St. Paul was a mystic. And here's his mystical experience. Meanwhile, Saul was uttering threats with every breath and was eager to kill the dangerous followers of Jesus. So Saul went to the high priest. He requested and got letters addressed to the synagogues of Damascus, asking their collusion and arresting any followers of the way he found there. The way. Jesus taught the way. Jesus was the one, the I am, a channel of the way. How Taoist. The way that can be said is not the way. It's ineffable, ineffable, and action. So Saul wanted to bring women and men back to Jerusalem in chains. As he was approaching Damascus on his mission, a light from heaven suddenly shone down around him. Metaphors here, so listen with the ear of your heart. Saul fell to the ground and he heard a voice saying, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? Saul says, who are you? Now, Saul did not know the light, as strange as it sounds. The light knew me. I knew it was a light because the light knew me. I know it's the light because the light knows me. And he says, I'm Jesus, the one you're persecuting. Jesus, God, the compassionate one, is bespoke, individualized, perfectly designed directly to our needs. You've heard and ears who have met the light, met Jesus. Maybe you've seen Jesus or an angel or some manifestation that perfectly fits you. The light dons the best disguises suited for each of us so that the message lodges deep in our soul. Saul was an enemy of the light. His experience as a blind religious leader had no wisdom in it and no mystical experience until it converted him. Mystical experience converts us. Paul stopped believing and started now knowing. He changed his name because he was born again from Saul to Paul. Second birth, utter deconstruction of his inner life, just like you, just like all of us who undergo that second birth. Jesus says, now get up and go into the city and do what you must do as I tell you to do. And the men with Saul stood speechless. They had a shared mystical experience, for they heard the sound of someone's voice but saw no one. Saul picked himself up off the ground, but when he opened his eyes, he was blind. Ironic? So his companions led him by the hand to Damascus. He remained blind for 3 days and didn't eat or didn't drink. So what does mysticism have to do with you? What does Saul's mysticism, Paul's mysticism have to do with you? He was born again. Mystical experiences make us born again. And it's not one necessarily. It could be one, it could be several, it could be 100. Again and again and again, the light shines upon us and touches us. Saul was blind after his. Maybe he hit his head. Maybe he fell off his donkey. I want to say another word for donkey, but YouTube flagged me for swearing, so I'm not going to swear. But Paul fell off his, and maybe he hit the back of his head back here, and maybe he interrupted his visual part of his brain, and he was blind for 3 days. No matter what the cause of it was, it is ironic because what went away for him was his blindness. He was blind before, or as my spiritual director, Theophane Boyd, once said to me, I used to be asleep, and now I am awake. Now I am awake. Paul awakened when the light came to him. It came to him as Jesus. And like I said, maybe Jesus came to you. Maybe you've seen Jesus, or maybe you've seen an angel or the light, or maybe it's illuminated inside you in 1,000 different ways, because it's always, as I've said before, bespoke, individualized, because the compassion of God is so great, so advanced, so ineffable, so loving, that God approaches each of us directly as we need it. And Saul, who was on his way to put in chains the followers of the way, who did not know the light, met him as Jesus, the one Jesus says. Jesus says, I'm Jesus, the one whom you are persecuting, the one, the I am, the isness, the Christ consciousness, the thing that was greater than the man himself. The teacher Jesus embodied the light. But he said to us, you are the light of the world. Greater miracles will you do than I've ever done. Our similarities to Jesus are greater than our differences. He brought the light into the world as a shining star of oneness, even after his death, because God is not restricted by time and space and tiny things like death, because death isn't real. It's a doorway, a passageway into another life, the truer life, the soul's self. So that light that is inside of you is the same light that began to become inside of Saul, who changed his name because he was born again, to Paul, a new man. And he went about preaching, and the poor fella, okay, because this happens to mystics all the time. Everywhere in the world, it happens to mystics. Jesus is not excluded. Cultural context, time and place. Paul was Well, he was misogynistic in some ways. Yeah, don't you think? Women can't preach. Women can't speak. Can't be teachers. Well, product of his time. Product of his time. Just because you have a divine experience doesn't mean that you shed all of your cultural precepts. It doesn't work that way. Or you don't even shed your DNA, for crying out loud. If you were psychopathic before you have a near-death experience and you come back into your body, chances are you're still going to be psychopathic. You're going to be living as a born-again person who's had a direct experience of God, but you're still living in the DNA. Some people have DNA shifts. My friends among them, they tell me stories. Thank you for the gift this morning. I thank you for the donation. It's capital 12831. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. The gift of the light itself manifests to us however it is that we need. And it's always in the context of our bodies, our brains, our lives, our relationships, who we are, where we were, how we grew up, the cultural context. God's touching people all over the world. It's not just white and black Christians in America, or Asians in America, or Native Americans in America, or people of any color in America. It's not ours. This is a global phenomenon where God is creating a singular tribe of people, born of the Spirit, through mystical experience, most of which is not near death, but a lot of it is. Vocalizing it is near death. And this is a transglobal thing. This is the great global awakening driven by medical science. And the medical science part of it is just the spearhead. The real bulk of it are all the people who've been touched by God in their normal daily lives, the ordinary spiritual experiences. Now, maybe Paul had a near-death experience. Maybe he hit his head really hard. Maybe he died. We don't know. But what we do know is that he did have a transformative experience. And I think it's better to think, perhaps, that he didn't die, because that gives everybody hope that you don't have to die to have a transformative experience of God. You just have to open your heart and be present with us now and here and feel the presence as it flows through us, together, among us, within us, between us. And once you feel that, once Saul became Paul, once he had his conversion experience, he felt this every day. And how do we know this happened? Because in one of his writings, he said, "Now I know in part, then I shall know in full." If there's another form of mystical experience, near death's expression of heaven, that's clearer than that, I don't know what it is. Because here on earth, it's always in part. So, Saul may have had troubles, and Paul may have caused troubles in the sociological structure of the church. There's a lot of troubles in the sociological structure of the church. But I choose to look at it as mysticism, because this means that Christianity was born in mysticism. Jesus knew. Paul knew. Hey, Russell, thank you very much this morning for your donation from Southwest UK. Peace and love. Thanks, man. Anyway, let's see what we got for questions here this morning. I'm kind of done chatting away about it. Oh, and I never went live over on YouTube. I'm sorry, on Facebook. So I guess they're going to get today's YouTube. Anyway, hi there. Hi Lee. Paul to causing good trouble. Yeah, Paul was causing good trouble. I'm going to spin back to the top here and say hi to Lee and Erica and Brian and Ellen and Sue and Charlie and Vicky from Ohio and Pennsylvania, and Karen Elise from Brunswick, Maine, and Lisa, good morning, and Susie and Connie and Pauline and Connie. Hey, Lee says, reform the word with truth. Thanks for this phrase. Yeah, let's reform the word of the Bible with the truth, with a capital T. One of my teachers was, oh my God, Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell was a great anthropologist thinker. And one of the things he said was, a myth is a story that tells the truth with a capital T without necessarily being true with a small t. And that's a deconstructionist approach to all of the stories in the Bible. You don't have to take them literally. As a matter of fact, probably shouldn't if you're going to make a choice. But that doesn't mean that the light's not inside them. That's the mystery of it, capital M. Good morning from London, Molly. And Nina from Wisconsin. I'm in Maine, by the way, coast of Maine, United States. Rockweed Girl, I feel it, but then again, I kind of felt it years ago when you were on commercial TV before the weather. You still stoke my spiritual fire today. Rockweed Girl, that's what I was trying to do through the freaking lens every single time. So I would write, oh my God, thank you. I would write my devotions in meditative spirit, and then I'd meditate before I went on camera, and then I would try to project through the lens because God's communicated through the lens. It's this crazy thing. I stumbled on it. You can contain it in words, and you can contain it in light and in poetry. And thanks, Niall from Ireland, for the donation, and also Brian, thank you very much. You guys make me smile because this really helps me continue on here. I'm going to skim back up to thanks, Rockweed Girl, brother Ed Salisbury. Namaste to you, my brother, one of my NDE pals. And Lee, thanks. This is awesome. I'll be sharing. Thank you, my friend, my reverend friend who's still serving a church in Connecticut, who's trying to do mysticism in the context of the church. And I kind of quit because I just couldn't fit anymore. But Lee, go, woman, go. Alyssa, hello from Australia. Got a lot of cousins in Australia, Alyssa. I do. Connie, yes, that's what Jesus meant by being born again. Amen to that. That's what he meant. Rockweed Girl, man, I am goosebumping. I've come to decide that goosebumps are the physical manifestation of grace, one fortunate enough to receive the experience. Yeah, that's one of those things. God can make you tingle. God can make you tingle. Make you give you goosebumps, which is a vestige of our previous experience as furry animals. When we would have goosebumps, our fur would stand up and we'd be hyper insulated, but we don't really. And we'd also be, my dog when my dog got scared, his goosebumps make his fur stand up too, or when he's angry. But he's no longer with us, my dear departed pooch. Connie, yes. Katie, greater is he that is I than the world, than he is that is in the world. Greater is he that is you than he that is in the world. Good morning, Katie. Yes, greater are we than the light that came into the world because there's more of us. And yet we're just as strong. And even Jesus was stronger, but the light of God is so much stronger than even what he was able to carry here. It's infinitely strong. It's ineffable. All right, let's see. Wendy, great global awakening. Yes, brilliant articulation of what we're feeling. Yes, trademark, great global awakening, trademark. I don't have a trademark on it, but that's what I'm thinking of it as. And it's totally a ripoff from the Great Awakening from the United States in the late 1890s, but totally different in that it's global and trans-tribal. This is the first time in the history of the freaking world where we've all been connected to each other spiritually. Because there's always been walls, but there ain't no walls no more because God is the motivator, the mover behind it all. Rockweed Girl, you are truly the first place where I found real life, capital R, capital L, meets the divine. And that was decades ago. Thanks, Rockweed Girl. I imagine you live on the coast of Maine somewhere. Lee, amen. Paul to causing good trouble. Yeah, Paul's a troublemaker. What else we get here? Your eyes are sparkling today, says Lee. Yeah, well, not my light, not my sparkle, but thanks. Tom, hi from Stratton, Vermont, right across the couple of states away over that way. Vicky, feeling that hum. Yeah, that hum, that's the thing. The message speaks for itself. It doesn't need me or words. It just needs itself to speak for itself. The message hums the true, the vibrancy, the vibrant vibration of the light itself. Thanks, Haven on Wheels, for that donation. You missed daily devotions. Good to see me live. Thanks. I got my hat on. Okay, I took my hat off for 2 years because it was like, I felt like, well, the ship went down beneath me. But suddenly now I'm like, I'm wearing that hat. I'm totally wearing that hat. So thanks, Haven. Goosebumps for regular validation, says Erica. Lisa, Not Church is the best church I've ever attended. Thank you. Tell your friends. Tell your friends this is the place. And I'm trying to form a community here. I'm really trying to form a place for us to be. And it doesn't have to be the only one. It's one of many maybe, but I'm trying to find a place where we can deconstruct the Bible and live in the presence of God. That's kind of my goal. Thanks, Charles, for the donation. Appreciate it very much. Thank you, brother. Thank you for the validation of your regular goosebumps, says Erica. Wendy, yes, exactly about the goosebumps. Rockweed girl, thank you for that. Oscar, hey, Oscar. Good morning, Oscar. Good to see you here from Florida. David Holt, Peter, love from Colorado. Love right back at you, David. Love right back at you. Someday, brother. Tom, can the light of God, or is the light of God gestalt awareness of a meta perch? Is this analogous to quantum entanglement? Okay, one at a time. Yeah, yes to the A. I think it's a yes. Yes, I think that the light of God is a gestalt awareness of a meta perch. Because what I think Tom means by that is that we're all up here, actually, in the meta area. That's where our souls exist. I never fully came back. I'm still not fully here. People say, oh, Peter, you're not all here. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about my soul is still mostly in the meta perch. And the Gestalt awareness is this universalized mind that's present in all of us. There's all this different language we can use. We can use the universal mind, the oversoul that Emerson used, inside of presence of everything. So kind of like the Buddhist idea, God is a circle whose center is everywhere. Buddhist, whose is this? I'm going to erase that part. Let's just say this, that God is a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere, the meta perch. And that's where we are. We're in this meta perch. And as for the quantum, sure, the quantum is like another metaphor, because beneath the quantum is still the ineffable. But yes, quantum is a great metaphor for what we're talking about. Superposition, all that kind of stuff. Connie, where do I go to donate? Thank you, Lisa, for the donation. There's a super chat button somewhere. Can someone help her out? I don't know where that super chat button is because I haven't done it myself. And I thank you for all using super chat. I appreciate it very, very much. Can someone help Connie out a little bit? If not, I can tell you, you can go to my website, peterpanagore.love. There's a button there too, peterpanagore.love. Oh, the next line, Brian Payne says, check the dollar sign. If I had just read the next one, check the dollar sign. And Connie says, yes, here it is. All right. Erica, I want to be part of this community. Thank you, Erica. I want you to be part of this community. This is a gathering place of the light. And I don't want you ever to confuse me for the light. I've been preaching, I've been speaking, I've been working for God since 1981. I have never confused myself with it. I am a physical vessel, a channel of the light of the divine. But that's all this body is. The light itself is the thing. It's the purpose. It's the goal. It's the aim. It's the key. Being in the key, having an intention to be in the key of life. Be the key of life. Aim to the oneness of being. That's where it's at. Thanks, Catherine, very much. Thank you very much, Catherine, for the donation. Lisa, I'm telling my friends. Excellent. Thank you. And be sure to subscribe and ring that bell, because that's where the alerts are going to come in, so that you know when I go live. Erica, laughter. I must have said something funny. Thanks. I'm trying to be funny because I love humor, because I think God's a jokester. I can tell you why Jesus, maybe someday I'll give you why Jesus was a stand-up comedian routine. It involved a chainsaw in church. Okay, I took the chain off, but Anyway, so was that a shocking day for them? Peter, you shouldn't do stuff like that in church, but it was totally entertaining and true and memorable by all the kids who were there. Anyway, you're telling your friends, thank you, Peter, says Maria, for sharing awareness and knowing. Yeah, you're welcome, Maria. It's not mine, though. I'm just an imperfect vessel. As Paul said, I only see in part. All of us here only see in part. It's what we do. Can't help it. Part of the structure of as the sat. Anybody know that word? The sat. It's like the universal structure. Erica Rouse, you are already in, says Vicky. Yep. And Tom, yes, at the same time, quotation marks. Tillich centered the whole, yeah. Tillich, Paul Tillich. Paul Tillich, worth reading for sure. Paul Tillich, mystic, right? Erica says, Vicky, hearts, and Shone. I've never had an NDE, but I've been listening to people talk about their experience daily for about a year now. They have helped my spiritual growth so much. Thank you. That's our job. It's weird. All of us feel compulsed, like a compulsion to do this. It seems to be the universal message of love coming through us that God wants to send trans-tribally, trans-globally, trans-religiously, and through medical science, resuscitation, resurrection, is creating an army of mystics carrying the light back, compelled to speak as messengers for the message itself. Capital T, capital M. Yeah, near-death experience. Got questions? Let me know. I can do my best to answer them. I don't have all the answers because I only know in part, right? But I do know the presence, and the ultimate answer is the presence itself. The ultimate answer is being in the presence with the beingness of the isness of God. For those of you who haven't tried it, I recommend Mystic Tea Salon after church. It's brilliant, says Charlie. Yeah. Thank you, Charlie. Charlie, you're one of the reasons it's brilliant. Mystic Tea Salon after following Not Church every Sunday at 10:30 Eastern time. And I don't have the link handy. Maybe I'll toss it up here. Give me a second. I'm going to go away for a second. I'll pop open my Zoom and I'll grab this and I'll go to here and I'll copy the invitation and I'll drop the invitation here. Okay. See if it goes. Go, baby, go. I don't even know if it's sent. Maybe it's sent. I don't know. Thanks, Catherine, for the donation. Very much. Wendy, I've been there, not all here, since I've been, quote, not all here since my ascension. Part of me will always be there. I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's the nature of the beast, of you, the beast, because you're not actually a beast. You're actually made of light. And once you've been touched by it, or you've ascended into the oneness of being, like Wendy, then you can't unknow what your soul knows. You can try to bury it, but you can't forget it. Soul doesn't let you. Have Haven on Wheels. We have had a great chat together about NDE in Bangor during your book signing a few years ago. You speak the truth. Thank you. I remember the signing in Bangor, Maine. Wow. Thanks. Catherine, send a super chat mail. Yazdan. Cool. Thank you. Nina, yes, Mystic Tea. Thanks. Yeah. Mystic Tea again. Mystic Tea Salon. We continue the conversation there. Molly, thank you, Catherine. And Wendy, I agree with you. And the NDE community should validate all manner of mystical experience. That's what we're after, because it's a bigger rubric, because of William James's writings in the varieties of religious experience on the chapter of the 4 marks of mysticism, the 4 characteristics of mysticism, into which near-death experience falls. Near-death experience is a type of mysticism. It's not the only one. And, I've been reading a lot of Hafez this week. Hafez is a mystic. I've been reading the Course in Miracles. There's a lot of mystical stuff in the Course in Miracles. I'm a new exposure to that. I mean, I heard about it a long time ago and looked into it a little bit, but never really did much with it. Anyway, thank you, Molly, very much for the donation. Rockweed Girl, sorry if this is not what is for, but what do you think of those who had NDEs but came back and reported that they'd been to hell? Well, I think of Winston Churchill. If you're going through hell, keep going. If you're walking through hell, keep walking. I think maybe they didn't wait long enough. I think maybe that's the message they needed to hear in order to live their life. I mean, they came back reformed, born again people, every one of them. I went through hell too. And I was dead long enough to accept the utter forgiveness because no one is lost, ever. Not really. God loses no one because everything in creation, every bit of light in creation is created by God. So any hell, even though feels eternal, is not. It felt eternal to me when I was going through it, but it wasn't. Love is infinitely eternal. Those folks who encountered hell, well, maybe they needed that message. Just like Paul needed Jesus to show up, to get him to stop conspiring to murder people, which is what he was going to do. Get a drink of water. Where can I find more information on this great awakening? I know it's going on and I want to know the scale. I can tell you the scale. It's freaking global. 10 million to 20 million near-death experiencers in the United States alone. Multiply that by 50 years of medical technology by every country on the earth. That's how big it is. Through social media, right here, right now, today, and all over the place, we are having our first global-sized singular tribe, soul tribe discussion, discovering each other. How big is it? Nobody really knows yet. That's what we're after. That's what I'm after. That's my goal. Make this thing happen by talking about it, by freeing all the mystics of all the types of mysticism around the globe to have an open and free conversation. That's what my next book is about. That's what Not Church is about. That's what I'm about. All right. Any other questions? We got anything going on here? I want to ask the same, Rockweed Girl. I think I'm one of the first ones to notice it, the Great Global Awakening, or at least to speak about it, or maybe have a platform for it. I think that there are others. I talked to a guy this morning at 5 a.m. my time, 7 p.m. his time in Australia, John Scott. He's aware of it. I know others are too. So I back off the I'm the one thing. I'm just finding others now, right? The Great Global Awakening has its own power because it's being powered by the conspiracy between God and medical science. Only I don't think the medical science people know that they're in the conspiracy. But God's message is coming through surgeries all over the world with born again people being raised from the dead on operating tables and changing their world around them because they are changed interiorly. And if they want to magnify their capacity, they too, like me, like Jesus, like Paul, like Lao Tzu, like Chuang Tzu, like Paramahansa Yogananda, you got to strive spiritually to make the container bigger. My chipmunk just showed up. I'm going to get some sunflower seeds out and I'm going to put some on my desk. Chipmunk will come back. Thanks, Vicky, very much for the donation. I appreciate it. Thanks always. Speaking of being connected or at the same soul level, says Karen Elise, can you speak to when we hurt others, we ourselves feel the pain like a reminder that love is the path? Yes, so, karma is real. When I died, I suffered all the pain, all the hurt I gave away. It came back to me. What you give out into the world comes back to you. It came back to me. But there was utter and total and complete forgiveness. And that's the truth. that I offer, that is mine. I only offer it because it was given to me to give away. Just like it's been given to all these people around the world, the tens of millions of us. How do you live with it? Accept the forgiveness that's given. Forgive yourself. Change your mind through your thoughts. By every time you feel yourself feel the guilt, change your mind to feel the presence itself. I am beloved. God forgives me. God loves me. God is present here and now. Can you talk about how we can both turn inward and be engaged with what's going on in the world in a helpful way? Well, the only way I've ever been able to be engaged in the world in a helpful way is by going inward. These two things in the Western tradition are in opposition, but not in the Eastern monastic tradition. Monasteries in the West, you go into them for your lifetime. Monasteries in, say, some monasteries, I don't, not all monasteries, but people go in and out of ashrams all the time. And in Buddhism, they go in and out of the monasteries all the time. They go in, they stay, they do their meditation, then they go out and they live in the world, and then they go back. I go into my inner world and I go to my outer world. And by the process of by spending my time of my life opening my inner world, creating a larger capacity inside myself through prayer and meditation, this presence actually then resides inside us in a greater and greater space. And that residing, that dwelling, it radiates out into life and power comes with it. Not power to manipulate or change the world with intention, because the intention is always only singular. It brings itself into the world around us, into our actions, in the hard places in our lives. This is not namby-pamby stuff. This is real world climate change, political upheaval, potential revolution, potential insurrection. This is the world going through a cataclysmic change that will probably last centuries as our temperatures rise and nations are displaced. At what other time in history would it be appropriate? At what other time in human history would it be appropriate to have a great global awakening, except for when there's a global pandemic and a global climate change that's going to disrupt societies and commerce and economics? It's humongous. Thank you, David. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for your donation. It's humongous. So there's this idea that there's always 100,000 people in the world who channel the light and bring the balance, and sometimes they don't even know it. I've heard them called the blind bodhisattvas. They're here to help and don't know that they are helping. But then there's the other people who know that they're channels of the light, and I think that's all of us. Be the channel of the light and let it come into your world. And follow the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's an essence of love. So am I acting in the world? You bet I am. But I'm doing it without anger or violence. Violence inside. Jesus said, out of the treasure of the heart you speak. Out of the treasure of the heart we act. Out of the treasure of the heart. How do you make the treasure in your heart? You open your eyes to the inner light, and you have that as your one intent. Striving for it with the whole of your life. Lee, I disagree that all pastors are hypocrites. All pastors aren't hypocrites. LB, they're not. They love sin. Some totally are, but not all. Because I know at least one who's here today personally. And when I was a pastor, I wasn't a hypocrite either. The only thing I didn't do, the only thing I was dishonest about in the pulpit was I was lying about my belief. I said I believed, I didn't believe. I know that God's real. No belief is involved. It's kind of like science. It doesn't take belief to believe in science, because science is or it is not. God is. Let's see. Anything else, my friends? What time is it? It's 10 after. We got. There are many platforms speaking and sharing about this great awakening. Stardust says, "Oh my goodness, yes! I'm glad to hear that there are many platforms talking about it because it's big. I'm not surprised. The great global awakening. It's about time, don't you think? Do people still experience the pain they caused others, even if they've forgiven in this life? Don't know. That was a blank spot for me because if that was true, I didn't experience it when I was dead. So I only experienced the ones I didn't forgive or didn't forgive me. So the ones that I did forgive or they forgave me, they were absent from the stream. I guess that's a blind spot. Um, Trisha Barker, Vicky says, speaks to that. Yeah, Trisha and I talk. We talk about it. Trisha Barker speaks about it. Good working through the medical professions. Yeah. Says Vicky, Rockweed Girl, good question. I grapple with becoming all the time more ever aware of my own faults. Yeah, you can't help that. We got our faults, all of us, me too. Human being, made of mud, and a body, the way it is. Not your fault. It's not your fault that the universe is created with the negativity. There'd be no universe, no creation without the negativity. It's the duality that makes it exist. Not your fault. Totally forgivable. My angels enjoy giving up punishment. No LB. Oh, hello, LB. They enjoy giving up punishment. That's interesting. What does that mean? Yolacheg, great question, Molly. Anissa from Connecticut. I used to live in Orange. Lived in New Haven. Nissa will share around. Thanks. I work for God too. Amen. Yeah. Well, there's millions of. I'm so glad to hear that. I only have one boss. I've only ever had one boss, and that's God. God's the boss. I work for God. You work for God. We work for the same boss. We're in the same company, the same corporation, the same team. Everybody who works for God is. Yay. Rockweed Girl. Who is included in the least of our brothers? Is anyone excluded? No one's excluded. Because everyone is created by God as a being of light. Ultimately, no one is lost. Can't be. Because God created everything in goodness. Goodness precedes the darkness of the sat, the negativity, the illusion, the maya. Goodness precedes it. Let's see, quarter after. I got a few more minutes. Nissa, thank you. I'm glad you. Thanks for loving what I'm doing. It's been 40 years in the coming. So I'm cracking open that egg now, making that omelet. What else we got going? Is it normal to feel a pull to stay home single? Well, stay alone and single. I think that all monks and covenant. Well, let me put it this way: some are called to that. Diving inside by yourself and being single. Why isn't that a lifestyle? Of course it is. Of course it is. Hermits are single. Yeah, a lot of monks are single. A lot of nuns are single. In community, that's what we're doing here. Shane, yes, it's normal. I'm normal. You are normal. It's normal. That's right. Peter, this is cool community of people you have gathered here. I will be coming back. Ursa Major, thank you. Can you please interview Natalie Sudman sometime? I've never done interviews, but maybe I should. You're the second one today who said you should do interviews. So maybe Natalie Sudman sometime. Yeah, I'd love to connect with her. I don't know her, so that'd be nice. The least may mean those in the dark. Oh, yeah, well, that's true. That could be true. The least of these, those who are blind to the light that's all around them. Thank you. Thank you, Nissa. See, that's what I hope to find here for myself to help me grow is your input too. Community sourcing of the light. That's what we're doing. None of us are lost, but some of us are not aware of the truth, says Nissa. Totally true. Diana Spy, I rest with God. He is amazing, sitting in heavenly places. Yeah, for sure. Russell, but you are never alone. Yeah. So back to the aloneness thing. That's the whole point of the spiritual life. You're never alone. I'm never alone. Ever. Never, ever, ever, never. Never, ever, ever, never alone. And neither are you. Neither is anyone. And that's the truth. And once the light reveals itself and you aim your heart at the light, it illuminates your whole life. And then you see you're never alone. Rockweed Girl, wow, at Nissa Zucker. Yeah, wow, for sure. All right, so I tried to send the Zoom link. I don't know if it's still sitting here on my computer. It's not letting me send any sort of message. I'll try to tag it in the end. LB, I'm insane. I hate it. Oh, I see what you're saying, brother. Yeah, you're not your body, my friend. And there will come a time when you're no longer insane when you get to leave it. And you'll know probably what you already know inside yourself, which is that you are an angel of light. You are that thing. You are connected to God. I'm sorry that you're stuck in that body. If you ever want to talk to me privately, hit me up, peterpanagore.love. We'll do a session. Thank you, Russell. Says Ellen, Rockweed Girl, but we truly love you. No LB. Yes, we do, because many of us have been there, might still be there. And LB, no LB. I have a story that happened to me, having to do with mysticism. Got a fly in this space in my studio, having to do with mysticism, and people thinking I was insane. I wasn't, of course, because I was in the divine presence, but it's a hard thing. And I'm going to get going soon because I got to take a break before Mystic Tea Salon. And I can't, if I haven't sent that link, somebody could toss it up there because I'm not making it work. It's not working for me. I love you, Peter. Thank you so much. I played the chickadee after not church. Thanks, Shane. I might bring the chickadee back. Maybe I'll do a poll. I'll do a poll this week on, should we bring the chickadee back? I love the chickadees, my friends. What about the verse, nobody comes to the Father except through me, Jesus? Well, because Jesus is the light, the I am, the always, the isness. He wasn't talking about himself. He wasn't talking about Jesus. He was talking about the light. No one comes to the light but through the light. I covered that elsewhere in other sermons, other talks. You love not church. Thanks, Yo Chow Leg. Do we have a choice to be born? I don't know. Probably. I know that I chose the life I'm living now. I know that I chose the course I'm on. That much I can say. We are all droplets of one infinite ocean, Molly says, and so true. Diana, Kingdom Talk Media is loaded with mystics. Kingdom Talks Media loaded with mystics. Thanks, Diana. Is that on YouTube? Peter, I have heard with non-duality that there is only one and we're all egos. Can you clarify that? Yeah, we're totally... Oh, thanks, Erica LNC, for putting up the URL there. I'm going to see if I can show that. Yeah, what was that? I lost what you were saying. Passages about reincarnation. Yeah, I talk about that elsewhere. I lost that question, whichever. If you used a super chat, I could find that question again, but I can't find it. There are passages about reincarnation and the canonical Bible. Yeah, there is. Ezekiel, John was, I think it was John the Baptist Ezekiel? I think so. That's a passage about it. Charlie, I've been through a hell of a time in this life. Stick with it. You can be fine no matter what. Read Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, says to no LB. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. I love Kingdom Talk, says Nissa. Daniel Lovett was On Kingdom Talk too. Yeah, I know Daniel. He's a good interviewer. Pascal's Night of Fire is awesome. Read in conversion, says Tom. Lee, Q was, we are all egos. Yeah, we're all egos. And ego is the thing that's in the way. I'm the only thing standing between God and me is me, my ego. I'm in my own way. And so meditation life, striving toward the oneness of being, that is the root of ego dissolution, dying the little death. John was Elijah, I thought. Yeah, that's what I meant. Elijah, Elijah, thanks. Thanks, Nissa. That's why I asked. So I've been kind of, for 15 years, I was skimming the Bible to produce shows for TV. And so some of it slipped my mind and I'm trying to refresh myself. So thanks. It was Elijah, John the Baptist. Hey, anyway, everyone, got to go. Got this thing coming up, Mystic Tea Salon. Talk to you soon. Hope you see you again, Nissa, and everybody else, Lee and Diana. So on YouTube, there was a modern movie, Mystics 2018. I gotta go. I want to stay, but I gotta go. So talk to you soon. See you next Sunday. Nut Church. Bye, everyone.